new world that they're asking us to see. The wrongs, the rights, the other sides make changes that they need. They print it in the paper, they show it on TV, but tell it like it is, my friend, I'm not afraid to bleed. It's the lies that I love, it's the lies that I love, it's the lies that I love that they tell. It's a whisper in the back room, we'll shout it from the streets, fighting souls with tear gas eyes, we're not afraid to dream. So print this in the paper, show it on TV, we'll tell it like it is, my friends, rise up and let it be. It's the lies that I love, it's the lies that I love, it's the lies that I love that they tell. It's the lies that I love, it's the lies that I love, it's the lies that I love that they tell.
Today is Tony St. Ledger, a legend, never mind a ledger, a legend of Irish punk rock. Tony, I'm going to take you back more than 50 years here. Sorry about that. But what was the first sort of glimpse of punk rock that ever entered your life?
Well, it's actually a true fact, although, Keith, I never consider myself a punk rocker. I'm a new waver, I'm a post-punker. But the truth of the matter is, I was in a punk band from the get-go. I was in a band called Vatican III, if that doesn't sound irreverent enough to you, from where I come from.
Exactly.
And we were fighting the church. We were fighting everybody, okay? And we called it Vatican III because we were going to write our own manifesto about how things were going to be in Ireland at that time. And VATIKAN with the three numeral. Mm-hmm. It was a decent enough logo, you know, and it looked dangerous enough. But and of course, shunned that in school because that's where we started in secondary school when I first picked up the bass guitar. Mm-hmm. And those bands kind of went on. I mean, I could meander around rivers with you know, from bands I've been in, and I've always kind of jumped bands. You know, I ended up in the Mr. Men, who were very aligned in the U2 days with Mount Temple Comprehensive School here in Dublin. And Frank and Larry Mullen from U2, the drummer, were very, very close friends. And Larry stayed with us in London, and that's another story. But yeah, I mean, I've been always in bands till my heart got broken in London. I mean, we went on a German tour with Mr. Men, who became Blue Russia, and we ended up being managed by Peter Grant, the Led Zeppelin manager. We ended up being co-managed by Don Murfitt, notorious Don Murfitt, London guy, who managed Adam and the Ants. And, you know, we kind of were barking up the right trees at certain points, but Peter wasn't the physicality that he was when he was with Zeppelin, of course. You know, he'd come from reclusive years in Eastbourne, and his lovely son was looking after him, Warren Grant, an absolute gentleman. But Peter, the great concept, and I want to say this to you just as interest to maybe your listeners, is that he got Tom Newman, who built the Manor Sound Studios in England, who worked on Tubular Bells with Mike Oldfield. He was going to get him to produce the band, which was like, we were all, God, great, man. We've got a real producer here, you know. God, maybe we could really do something. And we played him a load of stuff that we'd done in the studio in London to Tom. And Tom says, Jesus, that sounds nothing like his, lads. You know, it's too tame. You are much more lively than that. And he says, you know, you're not being captured in the studio properly. So on Peter Grant's instructions to Tom, they wheeled up a 16-track audio unit, recorded mobile, outside the Half Moon pub in Herne Hill. And they recorded the band, live drums, live bass, live guitars, trying to do a Live and Dangerous Lizzie on it. We were going to take all of those tracks and build them and correct the little bits on them before Pro Tools. So I have a few cassettes of that. That work was never completed, which was caused me a lot of anguish. We imploded pretty much close after that. And I'll come back licking wounds to Dublin.
And then what happened then? Because you didn't stay out of bands for long, did you?
No, I was here producing. I'm a designer by trade. You know, as I said to people the other day, I don't think music has ever really yielded any money to me, and I'm sure that's the case for anybody who's in the game. You just play to. Yeah, I went back to the ads for like Christy Moore, Mary Coughlin, Aslan. I did a goodbye, and look, and Crazy World, which is one of their biggest hits. I did all of those records live. So I was making money from advertising, to be honest, because I had to, for my family and to have to be a man and make a life.
Yeah.
But I got after a Justice Tonight gig with the Radiators from Space. I worked with Stephen Averill, who's known as Stephen Rapid in the Radiators. We shared offices together for maybe 2 years, 2.5 years. That's how I got those album gigs, by the way, because everybody wanted Stephen to do their record sleeve. He's done all the U2 record sleeves. And anybody worth their salt in Ireland and internationally, Stephen has done their sleeves. He's done my sleeve for Man on a Bridge, which is important, but he's also done all the Trouble Pilgrims ones as well. But I'd a note on this here, because I never want to get the dates right. Keith, you never want to get the dates wrong, I should say. You know, we were at the Justice Tonight gig in 2012 in the Academy in Dublin, right? And the Radiators was there. Mick Jones was there. Pete Wiley was there. And The Farm was there. It was a super, super night, right? Everybody fighting the Red Tops about how they treated the Hillsborough people. Yeah. You know, after that tragedy. And yeah, we were all in there giving it large, you know. And I walked out of that gig into Abbey Street in Dublin just with a friend of mine, David Bell. And Stephen come up to me and he says, "Oh, Tony, there you are. How's it going?" And I says, "Cool, Stephen. I haven't seen you for ages. What's going on?" He says, "I was thinking of you." He says, "When I saw you," he says, "Are you still in bands? What's going on?" And I says, "Well, I'm not really in bands." I said, "I'm playing in the safety of my own home now. You know, I'm goofing on synthesizers and all the stuff that I usually do at home." He says, "We're looking for a guitarist in Trouble Pilgrims, which is going to be out of the ashes of the Radiators from Space." And I said, "Steve, I tell you what, I'll give that a go, because I can play guitar, right? And I played guitar all through London. All the music that was written in Blue Russia was done by me, not the lyrics. Pete Delaney did those, but I wasn't shy, Keith, in putting down an Al music track, right? So Steve kept, "Come along to the rehearsals and let's see what we can do." So I showed up with Pete Holiday, Johnny Bonnie, Paddy Goodwin, and I was like way out of my depth, Keith. You know, you're on a boat, man. I was like really out of sea, man. I was like, really, God, where am I going to go? And of course, it's punk music. Yeah, it's the Radiators. It's TV Tube Heart. You know, and if anybody, your fans need to get their heads around that album. It's a seriously heavy going record. I've had the pleasure to play it on a good few occasions with the guys. We did, when they did the reissue of the album, we played it in Toners in Dublin, packed to the rafters, and it was one of my favorite close quarter gigs ever. I mean, people were right up on top of you in that gig, and that record, the whole lot of it, is full of energy. Yeah. So I ended up in Trouble Pilgrims with the guys. Brendan Line had come in on the bass then.
When I see Cleopatra eyes, the darkest feelings will arise. I'm like a reborn sun on the upper moon. I'm gonna dance you to your queen. She's the queen, the queen of heartache. You're the queen. She's the queen, the queen of heartache. When I'm standing next to you, there's nothing I can say or do. I'm like a jukebox Johnny on a Aquaman. I got a big hole in my brain. You're the queen. She's the queen, the queen of heartache. You're the queen. She's the queen, the queen of heartache. Hey, little punk, forget all that junk. Be a little punk, forget that junk. She's the queen. She's the queen. If he's playing dollars like he's gone insane. New York City on an aeroplane, but I guess you like the sound of my guitar. The motorcycle jacket's gonna let you fall. You're the queen. She's the queen. The queen of heartache. You're the queen. She's the queen. The queen of heartache. Hey, little gonna knock, knock, knock on your door. You're the queen, the queen of heartache. You're the queen, the queen of heartache. You're the queen, the queen of heartache.
I suppose we're here now where we've got the 2 albums out. We've got the Dark Shadows and Rust. I never thought I'd get to make a vinyl, Keith. I thought I was cooked. But when I went with the guys, we made it. Dark Shadows and Rust, very well received record, and also Blood, Glass and Gasoline, which was our last album together. And being honest with you, you know, there was a lot of health issues around the band. I mean, we're no spring chickens, okay? I mean, we're gigging away. We're doing our best to do what we do. But there was a couple of health issues start creeping into the band at Blood, Glass and Gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
And it really took the wind out of our sails a little bit. And we couldn't promote the record as hard as we wanted to. Like, I mean, because, you know, you've got to go gig albums. You've got to go out there and play them. So we didn't really do that. But again, the record was well received. And then I was writing songs thinking that maybe we could get a third album out of this. I was hoping that we could get a third album out of this because I love working with the guys. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't, but I had a load of songs, and Pete Holiday knew I had a lot of songs. And Pete said to me, why don't we make a record? Make a record, Tony. And I said, with both hands, yes, let's do that. And we set out on a journey. And Pete gave me everything in his studio, Pilgrim Sound. And over 3.5 years, nearly 4 years, and I'm not talking every day of the week here, of course, over that time. Yeah. We weren't doing a Pink Floyd on it. It was when we could, we would work. And boy, did we work. I think we left no stone unturned with the record, to be honest with you. I'm very, very, very pleased with it.
I see you standing with electric eyes. She looks so handsome, but she can't disguise. She's gotta want some money just to pay the rent and keep it all from the government. Oh, we're gonna go crazy for sex in a cheap hotel. I said we're gonna go crazy for sex in a cheap hotel. Let's get together on a Saturday night. Time is to the bedpost, I won't put up a fight. I'm gonna kiss your body like my lips are on fire. You're just a woman, but I still desire. Oh, I'm gonna go crazy for sex in a cheap hotel. I said I'm gonna go crazy for sex in a cheap hotel. I hear you ringing on the telephone. I hear you knocking, but there's no one home. I got an 8-track heart and a 1-track mind. Oh, baby, won't you dance with me? Baby, won't you dance with me? Well, wild.
Now, going back to the Radiators, where did the name Radiators from Space come from? Just because a lot of my listeners won't know that.
Well, to the genius that is Stephen Averill, Stephen Rapid from the Radiators from Space. Steve, let me give you a bit of pedigree on that, because he came up with the U2 name.
All right.
Stephen came up with U2. Like, Stephen's a bit of a genius, like on stuff like that, you know, really, really kind of hones in. And I would not, being a radiator, I'm only an honorary radiator, you know, I'll say that. That has to go to subtitle all day long. So, and I'll tell you how that happened. But yeah, I would suggest that Stephen would have come up with that. But don't forget, Philip Chevron from the Pogues was in that band. And you know, don't forget, and Pete Holiday is in that band. And those other lads like Mark McGray and all those guys, you know, Jimmy Crash, that, like, they were full of ideas back in the day. That was the original band. Now, they've had more bass players in that band than you can shake a stick at, right, over the years. And I won't go into that if you don't mind. But like, Philip Chevron was there, and I mean, everybody knows Philip's work is like seriously up there with the literary crowd. And this band, it was Ireland's first punk band. I didn't get a hold of it at the beginning. I was slightly younger.
Yeah.
They were playing in a very famous venue in Dublin called Moran's Hotel, and the Boomtown Rats had played there. I mean, like, that was the scene.
Yeah.
You know, they were on the colleges. They were doing the colleges, right? So that band went on. They went to the UK. Stephen didn't go with them in the end. They were produced by Tony Visconti. You know, I mean, Ghost Town is produced by Tony Visconti, right? I mean, it's their work is really, really incredible. The body of work that they've created. And I do suggest that your listeners have a look at their discography, because it's really, really, I think it's a gold medal in Ireland all day long, to be honest with you. And in the punk circles, it's a gold medal all day long, you know, for the diversity and the bravery of the ideas, challenging everything.
before we get on to your solo album, sticking with the Radiators, big news in November. Your big support.
December, 7th of December. Well, let me tell you this. Philip Chevron, right? We've already said he's an absolute genius and a massive, massive loss to the business, because Philip, unfortunately, he lived in the UK. He was with the Pogues. Thousands Are Sailing. Have a look at those records he wrote, you know. And Fateful Departed. That's another one I get you to look at. You've got to look at those records. But Philip had a demise with his health. And it upset everybody around him, as it does. And rather than being morbid and like, I'm crawling off somewhere and this is happening, Philip decides he wants a testimonial to he wants to share a night with everybody he's worked with and everything he's been through. Mm-hmm. And himself and his family got the Olympia Theatre in Dublin. I'm sure you've been in it, Keith. It's beautiful. It's a British designed theatre house, right? It's beautiful. It's got all the little, the little places where the people sit in the sides.
Yeah, the
boxes, yeah. And it's a beautiful theatre. I thought I'd never in my life ever get to play there. I've been at 1,000 gigs in there. Okay, so I'm in the Pilgrims for a while, and we're keeping on going. We're rocking away. Obviously, Philip's not there. He's not well. He's in treatment. But anyway, this testimonial comes up, and the guy says, we're going to play as the Radiators that night for Philip. Gavin Friday played from the Virgin Prunes. Like, I have a load of people here again. I didn't want to leave out people, but Horselips played that night. Shane McGowan played that night. Paul Brady played that night. Camille O'Sullivan, Fachna O'Brien, Liam O'Manley. It was full of the literary stars of Dublin, okay, and beyond. And I got a chance to play that night as an honorary Radiator with Gavin Friday and the legendary Bruce Shields from Skid Row. Have another look at him as well. I mean, Gavin Friday was in the Virgin Prunes, one of the first punk bands, art bands out of Dublin to kick doors in here, big time with music, rattle a load of cages. So I was an honorary Radiator. To answer your question, I was talking with Stephen and with Pete in recent times, and they said, we are 50 years. It is 50, isn't it? Jesus, that gig. It's 50, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have to check that, but it is 50. It has to be. We're 50 years this year. I want to check that. I don't want to get that wrong. I'll be killed. I'm going to look it up. I have it here somewhere.
1976 at 50 years.
Yeah, well, come on. I'm completely have no numbers, Keith. I have no numbers. But yeah, so the guys were saying, it's that time of the year. Should we do something at the end of the year to mark the fact that this is our time, and we want to go? It's 50 years, thank God. So they said, should we book a venue at the end of the year? We learn all the Radiator songs again, the best of, we do the greatest hits, Radiators, get everybody down. Thank you very much indeed. We're 50 years old. So we said, yeah, we'll put that in the diary towards the end of the year. Everybody's doing, so Pete's doing his stuff on the Electric Jukebox album, and Brendan's doing the Deviators. Johnny is floating around there somewhere, and he's always available to do things. And Stephen has a new project going, I know, with Matt Purcell. Okay, so anyway, long story short, they go, let's do 50 years, and thank everybody for the support for 50 years. Yeah, great. I'm in. So next minute, there's a nuclear weapon comes through the door. And it's like somebody has put together that Ireland's first punk band, the Radiators from Space, are 50 years old. And the Sex Pistols are coming to the 3 Arena in Dublin, and they're 50 years old. And somebody says, what a good idea. Let's get the Radiators on. So we're in. So that's what's going on. And the unfortunate part of it is that, there's a bit of a change in the background. I'm delighted to be in, but Liz and Ro from a band called the Trash Blues, who are working with Pete constantly at the moment. They've just done all these new music on the electric jukebox, and they're a serious engine room, and they're slick and they're on it. So they're in, Liz and Ro, myself on the chopper Telecaster, and Stephen's there doing what Stephen does, incredible things, and off the lead, and Pete is there, of course. And I'm delighted, excuse me, for the guys, because instead of being in a sweaty old little pub in Dublin, right, going, this is the end of a huge journey, they're now going to go out in the Tree Arena in Dublin with the Pistols. But what is the Pistols? Yeah.
Have you met the Pistols before on your travels?
Yeah. Never. Never.
So that'll be another experience for you to put down.
Yeah, well, like I saw Glenn Matlock with Clem Burke recently, before unfortunately Clem passed away. They played a great gig. I can't think of the name of that crowd, that band were playing in at that time. I don't think it was the Pistols. I saw them in Whelan's. They were absolutely fantastic. Really great gig. I mean, you're at the Catching Me on, it's bank holiday weekend here, Keith. And I'll tell you, I was out last night with the Deviators. We had a full house in the Grand Social, and I'm suffering here today for getting my brain going. But go ahead.
Yeah, you're coming across all right, so don't worry about that.
Such a long time ago, on a bridge, on a river, stood a man we didn't know. Instant Polaroid, instant Polaroid, instant Polaroid. Instant Polaroid, instant Polaroid, instant Polaroid. Today is a vision of the past, a time when we could see things weren't built to last. These things were fading fast. In an instant, life. Instant Polaroid, instant Polaroid, instant Polaroid. This place, give me light, give me space, give me air, take me down to where he's standing still. He's frozen in time on that bridge, on that river, in my town, such a long time ago. I always knew he was there. He's frozen in time, instant Polaroid, instant Polaroid, instant Polaroid. On a dark night, in a dark way, on some dark days.
tell us a little bit about Man on the Bridge. This is your first solo album.
Yes, and thank you very, very much for picking it up. I really appreciate that, Keith, and your show. And over the years, your show has been so kind to the band and now to me. And I thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's a song on Dark Shadows and Rust, which is the first Troubled Pilgrims album, called Instant Polaroid.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys, you have more bridges than you can shake a stick at up in Newcastle. I know that. And some
we've got 7 years across the river, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful bridges, and I know them so well done. But in Dublin, back in the day, there was a photographer who hung out on O'Connell Bridge, which was the main thoroughfare bridge between the north side of the river and the south side of the river. And he photographed people going to work every day, thousands of photographs. Well, I'm not going into that because that's not what Man on a Bridge is about. He had a Polaroid camera, and you had to years ago. You had to get a ticket off him years ago and come back a few weeks later and get your picture. But then he got instant Polaroids. So when he shot you, he gave it to you right there. You paid him then and then. It was done. But I just was fascinated by a shot I had with me and my dad. I should say my dad and I on the bridge when I was a very small child. And I've another one with my mum and I on the far bridge, because we were from the centre of Dublin. We were from town. We were townies, you know. And so these pictures, when my dad passed away, I kind of was trying to preserve his memory in some way. And I thought, God, musically, God, the track, the song. And this song is all about really remembering somebody and keeping their memory alive.
Yeah.
And that goes for friends, family, anybody, to try and keep a memory alive. That's what Instant Polaroid is about, you know? So then that was Man on a Bridge. That was the Man on the Bridge, Instant Polaroid. And then I love this idea about bridges. And I said it to you in my note. You know, you're on a bridge on your ship now, you know, the bridge on a guitar, reciprocal bridges, water under the bridge. Well, you know, there's so much in it, you know, there's so much in the bridges. And, you know, this feeling where you can go left and right and you have to cross bridges and you have to burn bridges sometimes in the hardest of circumstances for your own mental health. And just for something, when something is not adding up, it doesn't feel right anymore. It's something that's just lingering there that's not right. You say, that will burn that bridge. So Bridges Burn is on Man on a Bridge. So there's a lot of kind of issues get out on this record. There's a lot of issues.
There's one of your tracks, I think it's Old Town, that you've actually updated because that's an older song, isn't it?
The Old Town. Yeah, Keith, I could be. Did you play a demo of that for me back in the day?
I think I did. Well, I've definitely got that demo. Yeah.
Because I did that during the lockdown, and you know that
lots of synthesizer on it, wasn't it?
There's a lot of synthesizer. Surprise for me. I'll be throwing off your show for using synthesizers, but. Yeah, so I kind of created that song during the lockdown because it was called. I was saying I've got to get back to the old town.
Yes,
you know, I won't let it. I was absolutely, like everybody in the pandemic, couldn't believe what the government was making us do. Not allowed to go outside your house. Not allowed to walk around there. Sit over there, coming in with your phone to places and saying, that's who I am. I've been vaccinated. Don't go over there. They're not vaccinated. You're not getting in. I just thought it smashed our society into fragments. And I still believe that we're not back to anywhere near where we went. Yeah. I think it's been the start of our demise as human beings. A suspicion immediately to your fellow man, you know, at every give and take, you know, that suits the government right down to the ground, that we're all kind of smuggling around, you know, they're getting away with what they're doing. So yeah, so got to get back to the old town. And then there was a reference in it, and thank you, Keith. It was a story that kind of manifested itself because a lot of the Irish, as you Brits know, went to work in England, Wales, and Scotland because there was very little happening here, particularly in the 80s. I was one of those guys, okay, when we went with the band. But it wasn't really because of work. I went with the band, but I know a lot of people who went to London, Birmingham, Newcastle, all over the UK. And there was a line in that song that says, you know, got to get back to the old town. It was, some lived their lives in high-rise flats, in faraway towns and bedsit traps. Their tear-drenched letters never to be found about the old town. Like the people who wanted to come back home. And they got caught in the nets in England. Families, women got them.
Chorus too.
women sucked those Irish up, and they got them in. And I'm just saying that it wasn't just that. A lot of the guys we were with the band tried to come back to Dublin. They went off to America. Like people never got to get back home. So that's really is. It's just a romantic notion of getting back to the great old days when before we were dealt all that nonsense.
Get back to the old town. I won't let this bring me down. I know things will never be quite the same. I can feel it every place, and I can see it on everyone's face. Can't believe they shut the dice bar down in the old town. Old town. Every day we're under attack. It's our city, we're taking it back. That big new moon will shine and light the way to the old town. To the old town. To see how much has changed. It still looks pretty in the pouring rain. I think of friends and when they left and why. They live their lives in high-rise flats, in faraway towns and bedsit traps. Teardrenched letters never to be found. Of the old town. Has gone without a trace. No more smiles, no warm embrace. We're taking back these lonely streets again. To the old town. To the old town.
What track on the new album is the one that means the most to you?
Well, God, that would be a hard one, really. It could be Old Town, to be honest with you. And Bridges Burn is getting well received, but the track that's getting the most gravitas is the track Bang Bang. Right. Now, I mean, we could talk for hours about that. He's another famous, like the photographer was famous, Arthur Fields, on the bridge in Dublin taking the photographs. And there was a character in Dublin, and I'm sure you've got one out your way. Every town's got one. He was like a special needs guy, okay? Because that's the way it was. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be referred to back in the day. But he was a guy who had a big brass key from a church and a long coat, and he run around town shooting people cold and going bang, bang. And everybody rolled with it in Dublin, Keith. They'd all be ducking into doorways, and they'd, pretending to be shot.
Yeah, playing along with him. Yeah.
He was possessed by old cowboy films. Wow. Randall Scott, Audie Murphy, John Wayne, and he believed that he was a cowboy going around shooting everybody. And everybody loved him in Dublin. Mm-hmm. He used to be on the back of buses. You know the old buses with the bar? Yeah. The platform on the back, he'd be on the back of that, giving it large, you know. So I did a lot of research on that song, and I think, again, to go back to Pilgrim Sound and to Pete, he captured the song so well. When we got the pace on that one, and again, the synthesizers, and then to be the post-punk that I am, the Lindrum. You know, the Lindrum, like the Tears for Fears people use, all those tracks, Keith. I'm sure you could name 1,000 of them with the Lindrum in them. So Pete had the Lindrum. We have the Lindrum in that, and we also have some unusual instruments. And I played the lead in that myself. Pete gave me a sound one day on the guitar. I said, geez, what a sound. And I hope your listeners will agree. The break in that in the middle eight, I think, is a bit special. But so be kind of bang, bang, close with Bridges Burn, and you know, I don't really know, to be honest.
They kept the buses.
have you any plans to perform the album live?
Well, I just did it last night. You know, people said to me, you know, are you going to get a band together to do the record? And the answer to that is no at the moment, because with the value of what you do, I have a chance to speak to a huge audience. You know, I'm not getting any younger, Keith, right? I've been carrying amplifiers and drums all my life. Okay. I know the ins and outs of a high ace van very, very well. So, I mean, that would be absolutely flooring for me to contemplate a tour, but it's not off the cards. I got so many good compliments last night, because some people are getting to know the record, and they said, oh, it's so interesting to hear it just on the Telecaster, you know? So I just have my amp and my Telecaster, and I just go at it like a dog, right? I just go at it. And I show the songs to be where they started, in the very infancy of them. And then when you hear the record, you go, well, geez, I can hear where it started. And I'm loving that. I'm loving the fact that, you know, I'm not hiding behind the production, because the God's honest truth is that the song exists before you go near any of the synthesizers or the Linn drums. The song must stand up before you go anywhere near that. I've endless demos here, you know, of the work. But again, Pete honed in on that. So the answer to the question is, I'm playing in Kilkenny next Friday at 7:30 in the centre of the Rock and Roll Universe in Ireland, Ryan's Bar, on my own, on the Telecaster. I'm on a radio tour down there. I'm with Martin Bridgman in KCLR on Friday, and I'm with Emery Kelly on Midlands 103 on Sunday. So they are so kind, like you, to pick up on the record and say, God, you know, we'll play your record, but we want to talk to you about how you did it. And that's golden to me, Keith. You know, that's golden to me.
No, well, we do really appreciate your time, and we really appreciate Connie and Evelyn actually introducing me to you all those years ago. They're a lovely couple, and big supporters of the show as well, and supporters of yourself as well.
Well, Keith, to say to you that your ears must have been shagging burning last night, because they were down at the gig. They travelled from Donegal, the top of Ireland, right, all the way down to Dublin for that gig yesterday. And they've done that many, many times for Trouble Pilgrims. We called them the Donegal Pilgrims, right? Because, man, they put some yardage on it, and they think the world of you and your show. And it was through them that we got to be introduced to you.
Yeah.
And with thanks to those guys, they're golden. They're brilliant.
Well, Tony, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. And I hope our listeners enjoy the album and the tracks we've just played. And until the next time, thanks for joining us on New Wave with Newman.
Well, thanks, Keith. The digital download, we had a countdown yesterday of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I released the album digitally on tonystledger.bandcamp.com. And all the details are there on if anybody's interested in getting the record. Keith, I can't thank you enough.
You're more than welcome, and lovely to speak to you.
God bless you, and God bless all your listeners.
I need a future with no pain and sleepless nights and killers playing game. All's I've got's a broken heart tonight. Let their stories be untold, they never meant much, and everyone knows that. We're leaving this godless town tonight. Let the bridges burn. Let them be the light that shines the way. Let the I set my sights on new horizons. I'm leaving this heartless town tonight. No one will ever know